R&B artists don't just feel pain, they document it, they record it, they perform it for the world. And when someone truly wrongs them, a label, a lover, a partner, an entire industry, the revenge they get is so complete, so permanent, so poetic.
The one you let hit it and never called you again. Remember when he told you he was about revenge?
It's almost hard to believe it's real. 10 stories ranked by how brutal the revenge actually was. Number 10, Gloria Gaynor's I Will Survive, 1978. Let's start with the one that set the template. Gloria Gaynor has been on the R&B circuit for a few years. She has a voice, she has a following, she has real, undeniable talent. And her record label decides to put her new single on the B-side. You know what that means, right? The B-side. That's the music industry's way of saying, we don't think this matters. We don't think this one's gonna move. Put it on the flip. Give the A-side to something we actually believe in. The song they buried on the B-side? A building. Triumphant, defiant piece of music built around one simple human idea: I am going to survive without you. Disc jockeys in New York started flipping the record over, playing the B-side instead.
But then I spent so many nights thinking.
The one the label said nobody needed to hear, and the floors filled up, and the radio station started calling. And I Will Survive climbed the Billboard Hot 100 all the way to number 1, won a Grammy Award. And then, just to really sharpen the blade of this particular revenge, the disco era ended.
It took all the strength I had.
Every other disco song from that moment faded out with it, fell off playlists, disappeared from the culture. I Will Survive didn't fade. It became a wedding anthem, a breakup anthem, an anthem for people going through things that have nothing to do with a breakup at all.
I will survive. Hey, hey.
Illness, loss, the kind of grief that doesn't have clean language until it finds music. It became the song that people around the world reach for when they need to be reminded they're still standing. And here's what I keep thinking about.
But now I hold my head up high and you'll see me.
The label that called it a B-side, they watched it become one of the best-selling singles in music history. Not just in R&B, in music, period.
Weren't you the one who tried to hurt me, but goodbye, just got crumbled.
If you've ever made something that the people closest to you didn't believe in, and then watched it find its own audience entirely on its own terms, you already know exactly what this victory feels like. For Gloria Gaynor, it came with a number 1 record and a Grammy.
Look out the door. Just turn around now.
Number 9, Bobby Brown's New Edition. The year is 1985. Bobby Brown is 16 years old. He's a lead vocalist of New Edition, one of the most successful R&B groups of the decade. Multiple hits, a devoted fan base, a career that most people his age could barely dream about, and then they vote him out. The story of exactly how it happened has always been a little fuzzy around the edges. Some say he asked to leave, some say he was pushed. What everybody agrees on is the result. Bobby Brown is out. 16 years old, carrying the weight of a group he helped build from nothing, suddenly on the outside looking in. And here's where most people would struggle, would spiral, would spend years chasing the thing they'd lost. Bobby went back to the studio. His first solo album didn't do much, but the second one, released in 1988, when he was 19 years old, was something completely different. Don't Be Cruel was the album, and it didn't just perform well. It hit number 1 on the Billboard 200, 5 top 10 singles on the Hot 100, My Prerogative, a song he wrote literally about the right to make his own decisions without having to explain himself to anyone, reached number 1. The album went 7 times platinum in the United States alone, and here's the detail that honestly still makes me shake my head. At 19, Bobby Brown became the youngest solo male artist to hit number 1 on the Billboard 200 since Stevie Wonder. He didn't match New Edition. He outgrew the building they were in. Now, the group eventually reunited. They had their own renaissance, and by most accounts, everyone found peace with each other. The story doesn't end with enemies. But for those few years in the late 80s, the people who voted him out watched him dominate an entire era. And that song, My Prerogative, is still the one they play. Still the one that gets everybody up. That's not an accident. That's the universe writing the end of the story. Real talk. Only 9% of you are subscribed. That hurts. We're spending hours digging through archives, fact-checking every detail, bringing these stories back to life. And if you're watching this far, you clearly care. So hit subscribe. It's free and takes 2 seconds. Now, to my subscribers, barely any of you have joined the membership. And honestly, that stings even more. You know the work we put in. You keep coming back. If these videos have ever made you feel something, if this music means something to you, join the membership. It's $1 coffee a month, and it's the only way we keep this going. Let's build this together. All right, back to it. Number 8, Toni Braxton, Lapis Records. Fair warning, this one is going to make you angry. I mean that. The mid-1990s, Toni Braxton is one of the biggest selling artists on the planet. Unbreak My Heart, Breathe Again. Another sad love song. Multiple Grammys. A voice that people still describe in reverent tones, like they're talking about something sacred. By every external measure, superstar. Here's what was happening behind the scenes. Her contract with LaFace Records paid her a royalty rate so small it almost defies belief. Fractions of a cent per album sold. Her obligations to the label kept stacking up. The money she was actually seeing, it didn't come close to reflecting what she generated for that label. The album sold in the millions. The checks in her hands told a completely different story. By 1998, Toni Braxton filed for bankruptcy. One of the biggest selling R&B artists of the decade. Bankrupt, and it gets worse. During the bankruptcy proceedings, some of her personal belongings, jewelry, furniture, were auctioned off to cover her debts. Can you imagine that? You've given everything to this music. You've shown up, you've delivered, and now strangers are bidding on your jewelry. But here's where it turns. She renegotiated, fought her way back to the table, and in 2000, she released The Heat. The single, He Wasn't Man Enough, and went to number 1 on the R&B charts. The album sold millions. She was back on her own terms with a better deal. But the revenge wasn't just the comeback, and this is what I need you to understand. The revenge was the exposure. Her story became the example, the case study. The thing that music attorneys started referencing when talking to younger artists about what a bad contract actually looks like in practice. She changed the conversation, made it harder for labels to do what was done to her to the next person. She outlasted the label that paid her fractions. She's still here. That's not just a comeback. That's a restructuring of the whole game. Number 7, LaToya Luckett and Latavia Robertson, Destiny's Child.
We had a day, but today ain't the same. Every other word is
The year 2000, Destiny's Child is on the edge of full global domination. Say My Name is everywhere. The world is paying attention, and 2 of the founding members, LaToya Luckett and Latavia Robertson, are let go. Replaced, restructured, depending on which version of the story you hear, the details shift, but the result is the same. 2 women who helped build this thing from the ground up are suddenly out. But here's the part that hits different when you really sit with it. The way they found out wasn't a private conversation. It wasn't a meeting. The news broke publicly, accompanied by the music video for Say My Name, which already featured their replacements. They were watching the video for their group song, and they weren't in it. That is a cold way to end something. They sued. It was eventually settled out of court. And then, this is what matters, LaToya Luckett got to work. In 2006, her self-titled debut album debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, not top 10, number 1. Out of nowhere, with no group behind her name.
I came over with my clique. Don't try to change it now.
Just her, just the talent and the determination, and maybe, something very specific to prove. And here's what gets me about this one. The people who replaced her and Latavia in that video went on to their own success. Michelle Williams built a real career, and eventually the whole world watched Destiny's Child get their flowers. All of them. But there was a very specific moment in 2006 when the woman who was shown the door owned the charts without anyone else's name on the marquee. And if you've ever been cut from something you helped build, pushed aside like your contribution didn't matter, you know that the comeback doesn't erase it, but it adds a chapter, a necessary one.
Believe that you are at home by yourself when I just hurt the boys.
Number 6, Florence Ballard, The Supremes, Motown. I need to be upfront with you about this one. It doesn't have a happy ending, not for Florence, but it belongs near the top of this list. Because what happened to her is maybe the starkest, most unambiguous example of what this industry could do to someone and what it means when the truth finally outlives the power that tried to bury it. Florence Ballard was not just a member of the Supremes, she was a founding member. She was there before they were the Supremes, back when they were 4 girls from the Brewster Douglass housing projects in Detroit, calling themselves the Primettes, singing wherever anyone would let them. She had a voice that Marvin Gaye himself described as probably the strongest of the 3, the kind of voice that in a different story gets centered. But Motown had a different vision. Berry Gordy's vision centered Diana Ross, and Florence, who had been the de facto leader before they were ever signed, found herself increasingly sidelined. Vocal arrangements that buried her contributions, reduced prominence on stage, a slow, quiet erasure of the woman who had been there from day one. By July 1st, 1967, she was gone. She was 24 years old. Motown gave her a one-time payment of $139,000 and structured the exit so she couldn't easily come back. She tried a solo career on ABC Records. It didn't take off. She sued Motown in 1971 for $8.7 million in royalties she believed she was owed. She lost. By 1974, she was applying for government welfare, one of the founding members of the most successful female group in music history, receiving public assistance. while the group she helped create continued performing under a name she no longer had any claim to. Florence Ballard died on February 22nd, 1976. She was 32 years old, cardiac arrest. She was in the middle of a comeback attempt when she died. Now here's the part I need you to hear. The Supreme's legacy, the one built on her voice, on her work, on the years she gave before Motown decided she wasn't the face they wanted, that legacy has never been written without her in it. She was posthumously inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with the group in 1988. Her story became the symbol, the cautionary tale that musicians and advocates pointed to for generations when talking about what unchecked industry power actually looks like. The revenge didn't come for Florence. She didn't get to see it. It came through her, through every person who told this story afterward and said, this should not have been allowed to happen. And whether that's enough, I'll let you decide. Number 5, Lisa Left Eye, Lopes Andre Rison. February 1994, Atlanta, Georgia. Lisa Left Eye Lopes is 1/3 of TLC. At this moment, one of the biggest groups moving in R&B. She's in a relationship with Andre Rison, the NFL wide receiver, and they're living in a mansion in Roswell, Georgia. One night, she finds a pair of shoes in that house that don't belong to her. Now, different people have told this story differently over the years. What's documented is what happened next.
I seen a rainbow yesterday, but too many storms have come and gone, leaving a trace.
She took those shoes and she burned them in the bathtub. The fire was supposed to stay contained. It did not. It spread. And by the time the night was over, the mansion was gone. She was arrested, pled guilty to first-degree arson, received 5 years probation and community service. And here's where the story gets complicated in a way I find genuinely fascinating. Andre Rison stayed for a while, publicly forgave her, said he understood what had driven her there, and Left Eye herself never ran from what she'd done. She sat in the weight of it, acknowledged it, didn't try to make it less than it was. But here's the wait what part of this whole story. The year after the fire, TLC released Crazy Sexy Cool, which contained Waterfalls, one of the most iconic R&B singles ever recorded. That album sold over 15 million copies worldwide and became the best-selling album by an American group at that point in history. The mansion was gone. The music it came out of, still on every radio station that calls itself an R&B station anywhere in the world. Lisa Left Eye Lopes died in a car accident in Honduras in April 2002. She was 30 years old. She was working on a documentary about her life and a solo album when it happened. And that chapter, the fire, the arrest, the turbulence that ran underneath all of it, is now permanently woven into the story of one of the greatest R&B albums ever made. You cannot separate them. The pain is in the music. You can hear it if you know where to listen. Number 4, Janet Jackson, the Super Bowl, Justin Timberlake. Super Bowl 38, February 1st, 2004. You know what happened. The entire world knows what happened. What I want to talk about is what came after, because that's the real story. In the weeks that followed that halftime show, Janet Jackson's career was systematically dismantled in full public view. Her album, Damita Jo, was quietly frozen out of radio playlists. MTV and CBS, both owned by Viacom at the time, took informal but very real steps to keep her music off the air. She was uninvited from the Grammy Awards, an event she'd been planned to appear at, an event that celebrated the artists who defined that year in music. And Justin Timberlake, he performed at the Grammys that same year. He released his next album without any visible disruption. His career had no mark on it. And for a long time, that was the complete story.
I know you are free, 'cause I can see a star shining.
One incident, two people, two completely different sets of consequences. And the person who absorbed all of it was the black woman. Janet kept working. She recorded more music, toured, gave interviews with a kind of dignified restraint that I think genuinely cost her something to maintain. She didn't go on talk shows and burn the world down. She didn't vent publicly in the way that people might have expected or maybe hoped to see. She held it tightly. And then time did something interesting. A decade later, more than a decade later, people revisited what happened in 2004 with new language, new cultural context. And what they named was what a lot of people had felt, but hadn't had the platform to say clearly. A woman of color had carried the full weight of something she did not create alone. And the man who walked away clean had walked away because of who he was, not because of what he did. The re-examination was not gentle with Justin Timberlake's reputation, not for the Super Bowl moment alone, but for a pattern that people had finally gotten language to describe. In 2021, he issued public apologies to Janet, to Britney Spears, to the women his choices had affected. Janet Jackson did not have to do a single thing. She just had to keep being Janet Jackson, and the world eventually caught up to the truth on its own. And if you've ever carried something alone that was yours alone to carry, you know exactly how long that kind of patience takes and what it means when the world finally does the math. Number 3, Lauryn Hill's the 1999 Grammys. February 24th, 1999, the Shrine Auditorium in Los Angeles. Lauryn Hill walks in carrying an album she recorded while pregnant. An album she made while navigating the complicated fallout of a group falling apart around her, a relationship she couldn't fully talk about publicly, and a music industry that had quietly been telling her, through the voices of people who should have been in her corner, that maybe her solo ambitions were a reach. Maybe she should know where she fit.
You gon' win when you ain't right with them. Come again.
She left that night with 5 Grammy Awards. Not 1, not 2, 5. More than any other woman had ever taken in a single Grammy night at that point in history. Album of the Year, Best New Artist, Best R&B Album, Best R&B Song, Best R&B Female Vocal Performance. And I know you've heard this story. I know the numbers. But let me tell you what I think about when I play The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill now. That album was not a polished, industry-approved, safe for everyone project. It was raw. It was honest in a way that was almost uncomfortable. She laid out her spiritual crisis, her heartbreak, her reckoning with fame and identity in full public view, and trusted that people would meet her there in the feeling, and they did. Millions of people met her there. X Factor alone became one of the most cited, most sampled, most referenced songs in modern music. Everything is Everything belongs in any serious conversation about the greatest closing tracks ever recorded. but here's what I want to name. The revenge wasn't a speech. It wasn't a clapback. It wasn't even a statement. She didn't call anyone out. She didn't say a word about the doubters in her acceptance speech.
Things done changed, and you know them not ready.
The revenge was the music existing, the music standing on its own, the music being so undeniably, inescapably good that the people who said she couldn't do this had to watch her accept award after award for the thing they said she wasn't capable of. That's the cleanest revenge there is. Some of y'all heard that album at a very specific moment in your life, and it found you exactly when you needed it. You know the one I'm talking about. Number 2, Beyonce's Lemonade, 2016.
Paparazzi, catch my fly and my cocky fresh. I'm so reckless when
April 23rd, 2016. Beyonce didn't announce Lemonade the way artists announce albums. No press run, no lead single with the weeks of promotion ahead of it. She debuted it as a 65-minute visual album on HBO, and it hit the world like a slow-moving earthquake, the kind you don't feel until the walls are already shaking. And what it contained was unmistakable, even without names: infidelity, betrayal. A marriage tested in the most intimate, most personal way. And a woman who, instead of keeping that pain private and protected, instead of maintaining the flawless image she had spent years carefully constructing, took all of it and turned it into the most precisely crafted, most emotionally devastating body of work of her career.
reckless when I rock my Givenchy dress. I'm so possessive, so I rock.
Hold up. Don't hurt yourself. Sorry. And that line. You know exactly which one. Becky with the good hair? 3 words. And the internet became a courtroom that nobody called to session. But here's what I think makes this entry different from every other story on this list.
Bill Gates in the making. I just might be a black Bill Gates in a.
The revenge in Lemonade wasn't just directed at one person. It was directed at every assumption the world had been making about Beyonce for years. Every person who watched her present a perfect public image and assumed there was nothing underneath it. Every narrative that said she's fine, she's flawless, nothing touches her.
When you calls out, y'all haters corny with that Illuminati mess.
She cracked that image open herself, on her own terms, in 65 minutes. And what came out of it wasn't vulnerability as weakness. It was vulnerability as power, document, framed, preserved. Lemonade won the Peabody Award, took Grammy Awards, topped every year-end list that mattered. Is still taught in universities, in courses on art, on feminism, on the experience of black women in America. It belongs in a different category than most albums because it doesn't just exist as music, it exists as evidence.
Okay, ladies, now let's get information.
And her husband. Jay-Z released 444 in 2017, an album that the world understood almost immediately as a reckoning with what Lemonade had put into the open. His accounting, his side, his attempt at an answer. She didn't respond to that. She had already said everything she needed to say. Millions of people, particularly black women, heard Lemonade and felt seen in a way that doesn't happen often enough in pop music. That's not a revenge album. That's a monument.
Work hard, I grind till I own it. I twirl on my haters.
Number 1, Marvin Gaye, Here My Dear, 1978.
This partner, it shouldn't be that way.
And here we are. I need you to understand what I'm about to tell you because on paper, it sounds almost too perfectly constructed to be real. Like someone invented it as a story about what revenge could look like if a genius decided to make it into art. But it's real. Every word of it.
Try a new way this time.
Marvin Gaye is finalizing his divorce from Anna Gordy Gaye, the sister of Berry Gordy, the founder of Motown Records. Their marriage had lasted over a decade. It had been turbulent, complicated in the specific bone-deep way that only long, intimate relationships can become when they go wrong. Anna initially asked for $1 million in the settlement. Marvin didn't have it. He was near financial ruin. Years of tax issues, reckless spending, and industry arrangements that had left him with far less than his catalog would suggest. His attorney, Curtis Shaw, came up with a solution.
You say bad things and you've lied.
Motown had given Marvin a $300,000 and $5,000 advance for his next album. They would give Anna that advance directly and then pledge her the first $295,000 of that album's royalties on top of it. $600,000 total. Anna agreed. The judge wrote up the order. So Marvin Gaye was now legally obligated to record an album and hand the financial results of it directly to the woman he was divorcing. Most people in that position record something safe, something commercial, something designed to fulfill the obligation with as little exposure as possible.
To love and protect you with all my heart.
This is what Marvin said he first planned to do. He described it to people around him. I'll just do a quickie record. Nothing heavy, nothing even good. Why should I break my neck when Anna gets the money anyway? And then he changed his mind.
It's nothing but lies. I really tried.
What he made instead was a double album, 73 minutes, called Here My Dear, and it was exactly what that title sounds like. He handed it over like the settlement asked, and what he put inside it was the complete, unfiltered, unflinching account of their entire marriage. His feelings, her role, the moments he had loved her, the moments the love had curdled into something unrecognizable, the ways they had wounded each other, the bitterness, the grief, the specific surgical detail of a man who had decided that if she was going to take his next album, she was going to have to live in it.
All of those promises.
From the jacket illustrations to the track titles, When Did You Stop Loving Me? When Did I Stop Loving You? You Can Leave, but It's Going to Cost You. Anna's Song. The whole project is a portrait of a relationship in its disintegration, personal enough that Anna Gordy reportedly threatened to sue him for $5 million for invasion of privacy after hearing it. She eventually chose not to pursue it. And here's the last layer of this, the one that makes me stop every time I think about it.
If I love again, I'm gonna.
Here My Dear was not a commercial success when it came out. Critics were mixed. Fans didn't know what to do with it. It sold modestly and quietly disappeared from view. Marvin died in 1984, one day before his 45th birthday. He never saw the album's full legacy, but the album didn't disappear.
We really lied, didn't we, baby?
Decades later, long after Marvin was gone, critics and music historians began revisiting Here My Dear and calling it exactly what it is, one of the most emotionally honest, artistically complete, genuinely extraordinary albums ever made in this genre. Rolling Stone eventually placed it on its list of the greatest albums of all time. Anna Gordy Gaye lived until 2014. She was 92 years old. She watched the album she was given as a divorce settlement be called a masterpiece by people who weren't born when it was recorded. She watched it be analyzed, celebrated, used as a reference point for every artist who came after and tried to make personal pain into art. And in her later years, she said publicly that it had taken time, but she had come to appreciate every form of Marvin's music. I want you to think about what that actually means.
I understand is if you love me.
The man she divorced document their relationship for the world, and the world, slowly across generations, decided he was right about all of it. That is not just revenge, that is something rarer, that is permanence,